It is a special edition of Denver 7 News at 8 p.m. on ABC and Local 3. Here are the top stories we're following tonight.
They weren't doing anything, in my opinion, to protect her.
Multiple reports of sex assaults in Denver metro schools.
We pulled her. We didn't have any choice. We had to move her schools.
And concerned parents say their complaints are being ignored.
They even said that if there were a conviction, that their hands were kind of tied. There wasn't a whole lot they could do.
Synthetic opioids that can kill in a heartbeat.
Sometimes 500 times more potent than morphine. And so it becomes very, very, very dangerous.
But a simple action could keep your loved ones out of harm's way.
Had my friends' families gotten rid of them, they wouldn't have been available for us.
Inflation has everyone tightening their belts.
We know that this last year has been difficult. Rising prices, gas at $4 a gallon, groceries costing more.
Colorado wants to put some of that money back in your pocket.
Instead of government sitting on the money, we want to make sure we get it back to people.
Good evening, and thank you for watching our special edition of Denver 7 News at 8.
You can usually catch us on Local 3 during the week, but tonight we have a packed hour airing on both channels. So thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
I'm Danny New. We start tonight over in the Cherry Creek School District, where several more parents are coming forward tonight alleging that their children were either sexually harassed or assaulted. Frankly, they say the district is just not doing enough to protect their kids.
Parents are speaking up after a walkout at several schools last Wednesday in support of a sexual assault victim. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne with two families tonight who say the district is failing victims.
It's been just a horrible experience.
For this father who asked us to conceal his identity, the nightmare started in September 2020. His daughter allegedly sexually assaulted by two of her Grandview High classmates.
She attended a party at a friend's house, had been sexually assaulted while she was at the house. We called the police immediately after that. They came out. I can't really explain the emotions I was going through. It was all so surreal.
Unfortunately, he says, things only got worse from there.
When I spoke to the principal of Grandview, I was informed that there's nothing they could do. We ended up having to transfer my daughter to Elevation's full online school. It seemed like the only choice to keep her from having to be re-victimized.
He's not alone.
They've pushed this under the rug. They want all of us silenced. It's 100% negligence.
These aren't allegations. This actually happened.
Parents Sarah and Ben say their 7-year-old was shown pornographic terms by another 7-year-old while attending Antelope Ridge Elementary.
They were on the laptops that school hands out, and one of the boys asked her if she wanted to do the sex with him. She said, I don't know what that is.
In their case, they say the district and school did nothing to protect their daughter.
Not only were they not separated that day, but they weren't separated moving forward.
The board, the executives, all of this is on them.
And the only reason that we have a platform to talk about it today is because of all of the very brave students who saw something.
Yes.
And didn't just say something.
The walkout was a wonderful thing. Everybody involved with that gave us parents who were affected by all of this the spotlight to tell you guys and to tell everybody what's really going on in Cherry Creek School District. It is not good.
The district responding with this statement, saying in part the district has followed both Title IX and CCSD board policies, and there's very little they can do. But civil rights attorney Igor Rakin says that's untrue.
You may have to see that person again. That could be terrifying for any victim of this kind of violence. Both Title IX, this federal law, and the policies of Cherry Creek and state law give Cherry Creek a great deal of authority over here to take protective measures to protect a student here, but at the same time, they haven't done it.
Instead, it's often the families in these cases taking action themselves.
We pulled her. We didn't have any choice. We had to move her schools.
They weren't doing anything, in my opinion, to protect her.
She's the victim. She is not the one that needs to be kept away from other kids. He was. They failed to do that.
We just really want justice.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
In response to the incident at Grandview, the Cherry Creek School District says it cannot comment on specifics, but says when a serious allegation is made, they do work to create a safety plan, and that could include separating class schedules, staggering passing periods, or finding other ways to make sure the students do not cross paths during the day.
And this has not just been an issue within the Cherry Creek School District, as we have seen several other protests at schools across the metro in the last few weeks. For example, last month, students at Northeast Early College in Denver's Montbella neighborhood walked out for the same reason. They said that leadership is letting sexual assault allegations go unpunished.
Our state is doing what it can to help give some Colorado families financial relief. Today, Governor Polis signed a bill into law to establish a universal pre-K program. The newly signed law creates a department to oversee the process for providing 10 free hours of preschool for every family in Colorado. Governor Polis says the impact will be more than just saving families money.
The work is truly statewide to make Colorado a model for the rest of the country, a model for the positive development of kids and preparation for success, reducing the achievement gap before it begins.
This program is set to begin fall 2023. The governor says it will save families an average of $4,300 a year.
And Governor Polis was also joined by Democratic lawmakers today to announce a one-time tax refund for all tax-paying Coloradans. Listen to this. If you file your taxes by May 31st, you will receive a rebate check this summer. It'll be $400 for single filers and then $800 for joint filers. And this is all due to a record state surplus and Colorado's economic success, which means that now about 3.1 million Coloradans will receive this rebate. However, Republicans say that there is an underlying motive here.
Last year alone, there were fees on air, there were fees on plastics, there were fees on transportation. And now all of a sudden, because politically it's getting a little bit hot, they want to give money back. The reality is it's almost laughable. It's so politically transparent.
And the state says that those who receive a rebate will see that money in either August or September.
Colorado is now one step closer to sweeping change for combating fentanyl. After weeks of debate, legislation aimed at tackling the crisis in Colorado is advancing to the Senate. The House passed the bill today, which focuses on tougher criminal penalties for both dealers and users. It would also force some of those offenders into drug treatment, and it funds harm reduction tools like test strips and naloxone. The bill nearly had an amendment that would have made it a felony to possess any amount of fentanyl, but that was defeated by just 5 votes. Now this bill heads to the Senate, where it is likely to pick up some amendments.
Denver 7 CB Cotton reports that other healthcare professionals are encouraging people to do what they can now to fight the crisis.
I did another drug education event for the community so they could really understand, what we were looking at. And one of the things I found was people didn't really understand what drugs were.
But Jason Good does understand because he heavily used drugs in his early 20s.
My first addiction was to cocaine.
But after knee surgery, Good found a new high with opioids.
I had a pretty minor surgery and I was given high-dose hydrocodone. And then from there, they prescribed me oxycodone. I was rummaging through my parents' medicine cabinet and found an entirely unused bottle of Vicodin. I was like, well, there we go. I can just continue that way. And that helped me dive further into the land of opioid addiction.
A place that others will venture to via the medicine cabinet, which is why this coming Saturday, National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, is so important to him.
Leaving them just around unused, it's just making them available for the taking.
Actually, this is by far one of the most important things that we can do as a community in order to try to curtail this opiate epidemic.
Dr. Robert Page, a professor with the University of Colorado Schools of Pharmacy and Medicine, says when people take opioid prescriptions, natural endorphins are released, which leads to a euphoric feeling. And over time, people become tolerant and need more. Good remembers all too well.
After a while, I had a habit that was costing me nearly $500 a day. And that made the transition into heroin.
Countless others make similar transitions, Page says. When prescriptions run out or become too expensive, people look to dealers online or on the streets.
There are people that are now synthesizing these synthetic street drugs that can be up to sometimes 500 times more potent than morphine. And that are 5 times more potent than fentanyl for that matter. And so it becomes very, very, very dangerous.
But this weekend, Page and his colleagues hope to stop the deadly cycle before it starts. CU Anschutz Medical Campus is just one location in the state where people can drop off their unused prescriptions, no questions asked.
Let's get rid of these pills.
As for Good, he's been clean for over a decade, and now he's helping others do the same at Narconon in Fort Collins.
Narconon son was the one thing that gave me hope that I could live a normal life and I could be okay.
And he hopes others will heed his warning about the dangers of unused pills.
You never know who's going to be in your house, who's going to grab them.
CB Cotton, Denver 7.
Thank you, CB. And this Saturday is National Drug Take Back Day, when any prescription drugs are accepted. No questions asked. There will be multiple drop-off locations around the metro. And if you want to find one near you, you can just go to dea.gov/drug takeback day to find collection sites by you.
Coming up on Denver 7 News at 8, billions of dollars worth of Russian assets seized around the world.
There was already 2.7 billion Russian assets that were blocked, were frozen.
The new front line in Europe's economic war with Russia, trying to aid Ukrainians on the front line.
For the moment, we have 8,000 cars started, 8,000 already. That's a lot, although we could get more.
Meanwhile, Ukrainians with autism needing services in unfamiliar countries.
I mean, I'm sensitive to noise, but I can't imagine stuff that they would be going through.
Now one group of Coloradans are going the distance to help.
There are people with autism everywhere, and the smallest and the biggest things impact us really heavily.
We've had a few showers around. I'll let you know if there's any meaningful moisture coming this week.